Every year I ask you guys over on Twitter, and this year I did it on the YouTube community page as well, to send me albums that you think have gone undiscovered, the gems that you have found for me. And there is a good video going to come on that. I always do 10 albums that you guys have found for me, and I share them for everyone else as well. It's always a great little fun thing to do. It's one of my favorite things for the year-end lists. But before we get to that, it is going to come. But every year, you guys send me stuff that ends up being like one of my favorites of the year. It happens every time. There's at least one, sometimes two albums that you guys send to me, and I rave about it in a separate review. And this is this year's version of that, so thank you. It's always crazy when you come across something that's just been so overlooked and you're just like, why hasn't this been with me for the whole year? I don't get it. So this is Giganta. Giganta is a female producer from Athens, I think. I mean, that's what Last.fm says, so I do apologise if that is completely wrong, but Last.fm is telling me Athens, so let's hope that is not inaccurate at all, and I haven't got that completely wrong. Anyway, she's out here making some of the most fun, bouncy, vibrant, experimental at times as well, bubblegum bass, future garage, future, if you want to call that a thing, house music, some of the most fun music I've heard all year, and it had to get its own separate video because this is one of the best of its kind I've heard this year, and one of the best albums generally I've heard in 2022 as well. Now bear with it, because it's a deceiving album in that it starts with Fashion Police, and I will say this is probably the worst track, just for the simple fact that I feel as though it's incredibly bare and doesn't really have anywhere to go, and it does just sort of feel like you've pressed a button on a keyboard that's just automatically like playing a beat that just kind of drives on and on and on and on and on. It seems a bit unfinished, honestly. There should be more layers to the track to kind of lift it a little bit, but this is the first track, and from there it does get pretty damn excellent, because the track immediately after kind of corrects all the things that I didn't quite like about the first one. Pop porn. Yeah, she called the song Pop Porn. Probably one of the funniest track names I've seen all year, and do not misquote me on this, I am not talking about actual porn, but this is a real treat. An absolute treat this track is. Oh my goodness, it's so fun, it's so lively, the sort of like squashiness coming out of the beat sounds great. Sort of reminds me of something like Igloo Ghost with the way it's so bubbly and so vibrant, but obviously Igloo Ghost takes things in a totally mad and ridiculously weird direction. I'm not going to say this track is exactly like that, but just some of those qualities about it remind me of it. Hula Hop has so much going on. It's an absolute adventure of a track, to be honest. It's so exciting and takes you in nice little different directions. I really like the track June as well. I feel like the way it sort of slowly builds to the vocal sample of the "she's on your phone, she's on your phone" sounds really cool. Garage beat carrying it as well. Midi Food comes immediately after it, and honestly I think this might be one of the best 2-track runs on the whole album, because Midi Food is an absolute raver. It sounds like something you'd hear in like a stadium for a sports game or a sports event, something that's just kind of playing when a goal is scored or something like that. You hear this kind of stuff playing during ice hockey and sports like that. The melody coming through as well sounds absolutely fantastic. You've got the bloody track Giggy, which is another great track as well. I feel like here you've got this like nice cool swagger to the track. It just feels like it's oozing so much confidence, if that's even possible for a song to do that without a vocalist, but somehow this track manages to do it. There's lots of other good uses of vocal samples throughout the album though. As I've already mentioned, you've got Do You Feel Me, which closes out the album. That kick drum really hits hard on this track, but again the use of the vocal sample sounds excellent. One of the more creative moments though for using some kind of voice or vocal snippet or some weird sound has got to be Break and Enter, with that sort of weird sort of muted woo like coming through in the beat. It sounds really weird, but it also drives the melody to begin with in a really cool direction. But also I want to point out how when you play the game Fall Guys, and you've got those characters that kind of like make these weird sounds when they're celebrating, it really sounds like that. I don't know if she has sampled Fall Guys, but maybe she hasn't, but it just sounds like it to me. But the rest of the track, once it progresses beyond that point, reminds me of a lot of like classic 90s house stuff. So the influence coming through from the classic rhythms and grooves of the old school house styles does come through on this album, while also just having its own little creative touch as well. And let's be honest, these tracks at the end of the day are just really fun to listen to. Like, that is one of the best qualities of this album. It is just a whole lot of fun, and it's one of the best albums I've heard all year, to be honest. It is a real favourite of mine, and I'm going to go 8 out of 10. I think it's a really good release. I think for listeners of electronic and house and future bass, bubblegum bass, like, this has a lot going for it. Lots of variety, lots of creative approaches to how the beats are produced and stuff. The vocal samples sound really good throughout as well. Like, for a totally unknown artist, this is a ridiculously impressive album. Like, I will recommend this to anyone that wants some electronic music for this year, because she should be blowing up, and she might do at some point, so that would be great to see. Loads of fun with this album. Definitely glad I was sent this one through the undiscovered gems of the year that I do through Twitter and YouTube and stuff. So yeah, it always brings some nice surprises, and this is one of them. So thank you for watching this review. The full video that I will be doing for that list of the 10 is going to come at some point in the next week or so, or something like that. Across December, you will have to wait for that, and hopefully you're looking forward to it. Have a good day. Subscribe if you haven't already. Check out my Patreon in the description as well. And goodbye.